Welcome back, FOXY Games UK new and existing subscribers. It is Tuesday, October 8. Hi, I'm Fox, your reliable source of aggregated video game news, speculation, and rampant rumour. News source links are available in the video's description where applicable. So in today's news, Shawn Layden is departing. That much we know already. But now the CEO and president of Sony Interactive Entertainment himself is drip-feeding PlayStation 5 details on the official PlayStation US blog. Well, what do you know? Well, here's the meat and skinny. It appears an update on the next-gen PlayStation 5, which launches holiday 2020. I'm still going with November 22nd, but that's just an educated guess. Featuring a new controller with haptic technology and adaptive triggers. So since we originally unveiled our next generation console in April, we knew that there's been a lot of excitement and interest in hearing more about what the future of games will bring. Well, today Jim Ryan is very proud to share that the company's next generation console will be indeed named PlayStation 5 and it'll be launching in time for holiday 2020. There are updates that really may not be a huge surprise, but Jim Ryan says he wanted to confirm them for all the PlayStation fans as we start to reveal additional details about our vision for the next generation. Wired magazine covered these updates and more in a story posted this morning. So the more refers to something that's really quite an exciting prospect, a preview of the new controller. I did mention almost 2 years ago about a new controller, totally different, that will ship with the PlayStation 5, and one of Sony's design goals with the next PlayStation is to deepen the feeling of immersion when you play games, and had the opportunity with this new controller to reimagine how the sense of touch can add to that immersion. So to that end, there are two new key innovations with the PlayStation 5's new controller. First, we're adopting haptic feedback to replace the rumble technology found in controllers since the 5th generation of consoles. What is this? Some glorified HD rumble as seen with the Nintendo Switch? Tell me more. So with haptics, you truly feel a broader range of feedback. So crashing into a wall in a race really feels much different than making a tackle on the football field. You can get a sense of variety of textures when running through fields of grass or plowing through mud. So the second innovation is something they call adaptive triggers, which has been incorporated into the trigger buttons, that's L2 and R2. Developers can program the resistance of the triggers so that you feel the tactile sensation of drawing a bow and arrow or accelerating an off-road vehicle through rocky terrain. In combination with the haptics, this can produce a powerful experience that better simulates various actions, and game creators have started to receive early versions of the new controller, and we can't wait to see what they do with all that imagination and what goes in at their disposal. Now, while there's much more to share about PlayStation 5 in the coming year ahead, we have plenty of blockbuster experiences coming your way on PlayStation 4, which includes Death Stranding, The Last of Us Part 2, and Ghost of Tsushima. I'd like to thank all PlayStation fans for continuing the journey with us as we embark on the future of games. Wow, wow, wow. Isn't that interesting, folks? Finally, some official PlayStation stuff, and we've got a PS4 firmware update which is going to allow Android to fully stream games. So there is your xCloud already there on the Sony end. So this is quite amazing. It's funny how Shawn Layden's leaving and suddenly all these changes are just occurring within the space of 1 week. Absolutely incredible. Now, if we look at the Wired article that Jim Ryan referred to, they have an exclusive deeper look at PlayStation 5, and now that the name is official, there's a lot more details about Sony's next-gen console, especially those haptics controlled to the UI improvements, which is pretty interesting, you've got to admit. Now, this just makes me more excited for this DualShock 5 or whatever they decide to call it. I mean, if they're going with PlayStation 5, it makes sense to go with DualShock 5. But yeah, ever since PlayStation hit the market back in 1994, Sony's series of video games console has stuck to the numbers. There's no Super, there's no Max, there's no Code Red Extreme, just PlayStations 2, 3, and 4. Which is true, but Sony Interactive Entertainment CEO Jim Ryan is still ready to answer some questions, and the console, he tells Wired, will be called PlayStation 5, and it's nice to be able to say it, he says. It's like a giant burden has been lifted from my shoulders, as if there was any doubt that it was going to be called PlayStation 5. Give me a break, Mr. Ryan. So yeah, there you go. PlayStation 5 coming holiday 2020. As I say, I'm putting November 22, 2020 at the forefront of the launch. Even though that is not official, it's an educated guess. So, there hasn't been a lot said about the Sony console since April, when Wired broke the story about development efforts on what was known only as a next-gen console when he discussed it with Mark Cerny. But they haven't said anything since, and Sony even skipped E3 this year. To that void left to Microsoft, who unveiled plans of its own next-generation console, Project Scarlet. But like PS5, Scarlet will boast a CPU based on AMD's Ryzen line and a Navi GPU and ray tracing and solid-state drives and no load times and all the extra bits and bobs that you get with a new console, especially quality of life stuff. You've got this assistant built in now. You've got PlayStation VR integration built in. There's a lot going on with this new system. So in a conference room at Sony's US headquarters, Ryan and system architect Mark Cerny are eager to share specifics. But before they do, Cerny wants to clarify something. When he last discussed the forthcoming console, he spoke about its ability to support ray tracing and a technique that enables complex lighting and sound effects in 3D environments. Now, given the many questions that raised, he fears he may have been a bit ambiguous about how the PlayStation 5 would accomplish this, and confirms that it's not a software level fix, which some had feared. There is going to be ray tracing hardware accelerated in the GPU itself, which I believe is the statement that people were looking for. A lot of relief there, and no more of this PS5 is not going to do hardware ray tracing, because it is. So that's good news then. And of course the PlayStation 5 SSD, which Sony extolled way back and said that the loading times have become to be a hassle on the current generation, and he wants to eliminate that as much as possible with the 5th iteration of the Sony PlayStation. So if you look at a game like Marvel Spider-Man that they showed, the data has been duplicated 400 times on the hard drive, and the SSD sweeps away the need for all that duplicating. So not only is it raw read speeding dramatically faster than a regular hard drive, but it saves crucial space, and how developers will take advantage of that space will likely differ. Some may opt to build a larger or more detailed game world, others may be content to shrink the size of the game or the patches. Either way, physical games for PS5 will use 100GB optical discs inserted into an optical drive that doubles as a 4K Blu-ray player. Woohoo! 100GB discs finally here. None of this 50 gig limits. That's why we've got 2 discs coming with The Last of Us Part 2, which will probably end up being 1 disc on PlayStation 5. You've got to love it. However, game installation, which is mandatory even with the next gen, will be giving a big speed boost, and you'll see the difference quite a bit compared to PS4, because there's ample game data being shoved into the SSD, and obviously Sony's changing its approach to storage, making for a more configurable installation. Rather than treating games like a big block of data, Sony says we're allowing a finer grained access to the data that could mean the ability to install just a game's multiplayer campaign, leaving the single player campaign for another time, or vice versa, or just installing the whole thing then deleting the single player campaign once you've finished it, which will no doubt help with space. Regardless of what parts of the game you choose to install and play, you'll be able to stay abreast of it. Didn't I mention this as well, that Sony might be working on a portable companion where you can take chunks of data on the go, so you won't take the whole game, you'll take like maybe 2-3 hours worth of the game, play it out there portably, and then continue where you left off and keep swapping out chunks of data. Didn't I tell you people this a long time ago? I think I did. But, at the end of the day, you need the official statement, because otherwise, how do you know I'm not talking complete rubbish? So PlayStation 5 is going to change a lot of things. The UI, the SSD, how the microphone interacts, the assistant, which Mark Cerny does not wish to talk about with Wired in this article. I think they're saving that for a reveal, at least with the prototype of next generation hardware. It's an unlabeled matte black doohickey that looks an awful lot like a PS4's DualShock 4. After all, there's a little hole in it, and recently published patent points to Sony developing a voice-driven AI assistant specifically for PlayStation. Think Siri, think Alexa, think whatever. So yeah, they want to talk about things another time. But this is fantastic news, everybody. I just wanted to get it out there, especially with the whole PlayStation VR integration. We're starting to hear a lot more about PlayStation 5. A lot more is coming out, and it's wonderful. I am loving it. About bloody well time too. But what say you? Go ahead, sound off, share your thoughts and opinions on this PS5 news, official news, because that unfortunately brings us to the end of yet another video. But let's continue the discussion cordially in the comments, and for all your current and next gen news updates, rumor and rampant speculation, hit the like button, spread the word, and yes, keep it locked to FOXY Games UK. Do remember relevant links are applicable, can be found in this video's description. Subscribe to FOXY Games UK, remember to hit notification bell so you never miss content. Thumbs up if you like it here, and help us reach more like-minded gamers simply by sharing the video. Consider supporting FOXY Games UK via Patreon, and or grab yourself a FOXY Games UK branded t-shirt or hoodie, available in various colours and designs. You'll find both links in the video description. I appreciate the support. That concludes our time together today. Certainly great hanging out. Until the next video, remember, play games, not corporations. PlayStation 5!